Deputy Murphy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Mr. Bray and your officials for being with us today. And my apologies if I go over questions that were already asked, and if I do, just stop me, just because I have to go out for a vote. I just want to start by looking at the basic accounts and the revenue streams that the OSI has. What are you making money from commercially?
Primarily, our revenue streams commercially are leasing of spatial information. We, as the National Mapping Agency, we maintain the National Spatial Database, the topographic database. We create products and services from that, and they would be in relation to mapping, as you may be familiar with tourism and leisure maps and hill walking maps. But primarily the use of our data would be digital information, and the use of that is under a contract term whereby we maintain the data and supply data under that contract term.
And so, say, for example, a semi-state utility company, would that be regarded as a commercial contract, or is that?
It would indeed.
Okay. And commercial revenue then makes up about 90% of money coming into the OSI, does it?
Yes.
And the rest is then is made up by the department?
Yes.
Okay. And is there two elements to what the department's paying you? Is there a kind of a standing, I guess, the agreement in place to make up the shortfall that commercial doesn't make up, or how does that work?
We have a service level agreement with the department, and that is negotiated annually, and that has firm deliveries within that, where we deliver on our programme, on our commitments, and that is monitored in a formal process internally with our board as well.
Okay. And so that's the only payment that's made, just the service level agreements?
And also the pension as well.
Okay. But before the pension, because I know the pension arrangement is new as of the beginning of 2011. Before that, it was just a service level agreement.
Yes.
And would that be, I mean, would the final figure of that be decided at end of year, or because, I mean, essentially it has to make up the difference between the 10% difference, does it? I mean, if you're down.
The SLA isn't about just making up the difference. It's around value for money in relation to that SLA. It's not there as a mechanism to cover a shortfall. We run ourselves as a commercial operation, and that will be one of the funding. It's our and my responsibility to manage that bottom line, as in bring in additional commercial revenue and reduce operating costs. So the SLA is only one part of our funding model, but it isn't there to bridge a shortfall. It's there as a legitimate activity for national interest work that would not be undertaken by another organisation. So in managing the bottom line, that is within our control, and that is our responsibility.
So your position now as the new CEO in the organisation, I mean, are you hoping to expand your commercial activities? I mean, I know there's been a difficult climate in the last number of years, but are you hoping now, looking into the future, to make up more than 90%, to bring that figure up more?
Yeah, I mean, that is our modus operandi all the time, is to increase and grow the business where possible. Obviously, over the last number of years, that has been very challenging. You can see that from the revenue streams. However, we have put a number of initiatives in place to sustain and in certain areas grow that revenue. Regarding the future revenue of the organisation, that will be our activity, is to grow that. I think in parallel to that, we also have the merger of Ordnance Survey Ireland, the Property Registration Authority and the Valuation Office, and the function of that organisation.
Just two things there then. I mean, Prime 2 is one of these new tools that you brought out in the last 2 years, due for completion this year. Is that on schedule, or?
Yeah, the Prime 2, I mean, that is really a significant project for the state, not just Ordnance Survey Ireland. We've been working on the Prime 2 strategy now for close on 7 years, and that is to put in a new national spatial infrastructure for the state. We talk about the digital mapping that we have and how the local authorities, the telcos, etc., would use that information for their own operations. We have, over the last 7 years, put in a strategy to develop a new digital mapping system for the state. The first 4 years were involved around research, development, understanding best in breed, waiting for international standard to become robust. We've had a commercial contract over the last 2 years to re-engineer our data into that new data model, and that will be complete by the end of this year. So that provides a standards-based, an international standards-based new platform for the Ordnance Survey and also for the state. The data can be used by customers and by users in an industry standard format of a very, very high quality.
When do you expect to start making money from that project in terms of a commercial level?
When we say making money from that project as an initiative provides Ordnance Survey Ireland with the ability to get more efficiencies in how we maintain the National Spatial Database, but also it does, because it's standards based and because it's the latest of industry standard spatial information, it does give us the ability to leverage that to create new products and services.
So therefore, for example, when you look at your existing customer base, was that a project undertaken to keep you in the game, or was it a project undertaken to enhance the value of the services you're providing and therefore maybe charge more money? Or was it to keep you in the playing field?
There was a number of factors. Really, it was threefold was the justification on the Prime 2 project. One was sustainability. As an organisation, we are one of the most technologically advanced national mapping agencies in the world. We have been within the digital environment for close on 30, 35 years. That digital database for the state, conceptually, the standardization of that was near 30 years old. As a national spatial platform, it was coming to end of life. So from a sustainability point of view, we needed to create a new industry standard database, which will be one of the forerunners within Europe. That enables us to create new products and services from that. In relation to the second fold was productivity and efficiency. Because it's standards-based, because it's a single data holding, it's a combination of 3 existing databases. So we've been able to rationalize maintenance flow lines. So we've been able to cut down the amount of effort it requires ourselves to maintain that database. So justification on that. And then in relation to business growth, that does now give us the opportunity to create products that we couldn't have created heretofore, such as detailed road centerline products and enhanced web services. When we talk about web services, that is where we provide digital information as a service over the internet, taking the overhead away from the end user. They're able to get our data streamed and use the data. The functionality and the detail within that web service is dependent on the quality and the intelligence of the data. With Prime 2, that enables us to do far more in that environment. So yes, enhanced opportunities in revenue from web services is the...
Help you close that 10% shortfall that's there at the moment in the organisation?
That will go a significant way to doing that. Yes, I think if we look at what is in addition to that, I think really the investment that Ordnance Survey Ireland has put into the Prime 2 project also provides the state with significant opportunities. When we talk about e-government, when we talk about getting greater interoperability in government services and data, and that is all related to how accurately and consistently we can relate information to each other. What Prime 2 provides the state is a unique, standardized way of relating spatial information. Unique IDs, standard location, intelligent spatial information. When you release that then as a platform to the state in relation to how local authorities do their work, also in relation to the work of the Valuation Office and the Property Registration Authority, there are significant benefits for the state in having a modern spatial infrastructure.
And so, that brings me on actually to the next thing I wanted to address then. In terms of the merger, what's going to happen with your accounting with your, the money you bring in as the commercial money you're bringing in, does that come into a central fund after you've merged with the valuation office, or will it be your own dedicated income stream to then?
Yeah, as part of the steering group responsible for driving the merger forward, that is currently in discussion on the actual the model of the new organisation.
Do you have preference though?
Well, obviously, under our current Ordnance Survey Act, with the emphasis of reducing the reliance on the Exchequer, I think that is a very healthy action in relation to the culture of the organisation, from commercial thinking, and how we would deal with customers and how we deal with product development. I think when we look around similar models around the world and around other member states within Europe, similar merged organisations would also carry out a commercial activity.
But are you worried that that culture then in your own organisation might be dampened by the merger? Because
no, not at all. I think there is a great synergies between the three organisations within this merger, and the sum of the parts will be far greater than the individual pieces.
And then in terms of the funding you receive from the state, I mean, will that be then, if you're talking about, I suppose, pooling commercial revenue streams, you'll be talking about also a single payment coming to this new organisation from the state to then be negotiated between the different entities, or?
That is currently under discussion at the moment now.
And how does that get decided then? I mean, if each of you as three separate bodies come with your preferred choice, will the Minister make a ruling on that?
That would be a policy decision.
It'll be the Minister's decision to decide then how those different elements of your accounting are sorted out.
In relation to the activities of the new organisation, we will be presenting updates to government on the merger and on the activities involved. The actual end model, the business model of the new organisation, as of now, we are currently working through that.
And then, as part of that process, what about the pension liability that the OSI has? What do you see happening with that?
The pension liability, that is currently in discussion with our parent department at the moment. That is a live discussion.
Change that happened at the end of 2010 moving into 2011 was that the department took on that liability itself. Is that? It was
the actual the payment of the pension prior to that was from the Ordnance Survey, and now I think in relation to the overall service level agreement, it's combined within the overall value for money piece that we offer the state.
And what are you hoping will happen though to that as part of the merger? Are you hoping then that the pension liability will then transfer wholly onto the new organisation, or continue to be ring-fenced in a separate service level agreement that you maintain separately with the department, or?
I think in relation to the merger, the preference would be that post-merger, where all three organisations will be treated in the same manner.
And are you aware of the pension liabilities that the other organisations have in the merger?
No, I'm not.
And what's the timeline for completion of these different elements of the merger in terms of deciding on that?
We're obviously we have active working groups involved in looking at legislation, looking at finance, looking at human resources, looking at shared services, and I suppose we have relatively modern legislation governing the three organisations, going from 2001 to 2006. However, they are considerable bits of legislation, and the effort in combining that legislation for the new organisation will be considerable, and that will determine the timeline.
You think it's something that will happen, say, in the lifetime of this current Dáil and of this government, or is it something that's going to take more than 2.5 years?
I would like to see it within the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Just the other area I wanted to touch upon briefly was in relation to the work with the postcodes. Has that been touched upon? No. What's your involvement in that?
In relation to postcodes, obviously the Ordnance Survey, we produce national mapping and the spatial information. We also are 49% of Geodirectory, which is a company that produces and maintains the national address database in GeoDirectory. Ordnance Survey Ireland's interaction with the postcodes. Obviously, we understand spatial information. Spatial information is our business. We'll be very supportive of the postcodes initiative. I think as part of national infrastructure, it provides a significant element of the data management level. When we talk about consistently relating information, we talk about doing decision making upon multiple data sources and analysis. Having a national postcode system will significantly enhance that, and it would be, in general, for the geographic information industry, would be very positive.
So are you selling information as part of that rollout of the new postcode system, or are you going to profit from the new postcode system as an organisation?
Depending on the solution that is now, I understand there's obviously contract negotiations going on with the winner of that process. Depending on the solution that's being provided, there's obviously two potential elements in that. One would be the provision of addresses, which would be through GeoDirectory, and the other potential is the provision of spatial information from the National Mapping Agency. When we talk about the knock-on effects for the Ordnance Survey, we would see that as a positive outcome. Generating that other level of intelligence in the state's spatial information can only be good for spatial information, the use of. So we would see postcodes increasing the use of spatial information in the state, and good for national mapping.
When you talk about 49% of the OSI has 49% of GeoDirectory, you mean you own 49% of it, or you?
We do indeed.
Okay, and who owns the other 51%?
On post.
On post, okay. And have you got a preferred model then that would be adopted for the rollout of the postcodes?
That wouldn't be our task. That would be the task of the contractor implementing the postcodes.
But would you be consulted on that, or?
We would have been